Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first ever Part-Time Pros podcast. Funny enough, the podcast presented, I suppose, here on the Part-Time Pros has been such a long time since this channel's been active, we almost thought it had cobwebs. But speaking about cobwebs, we have Engineer Atom on the podcast here. And how are you, my good sir?
Feeling a lot less cobwebs, a lot more rust, and a lot more age. It's painful.
Well,
But somewhat nostalgic to be back.
Well, it's always great to see one of the traditional owners, admins who's relinquished it, decided to become part-time again, and has been dragged through the mud. We were meant to be joined by Kuro, but he decided to go on holiday. But I must say, Adam, you are unfortunately part of a selective group tonight.
That's it. There's only been, what, 7 admins in PTP, is it? I could be completely miscounting.
Well,
But yeah, we're an elite group of people that like to talk nonsense and pretend we know what we're doing, and I'm sure that's going to come across.
Well, talking from nonsense, so hopefully sensible here, but the other potential group as well too, and hopefully Adam doesn't get his clues mixed up later on today's podcast as well too. He has now a Wikipedia page after 5 years of knowing this man who has brought a smile, laughter, and unfortunately tears when watching his gameplay too on like Speed. LTXSam, how are you doing?
Slightly less good now. That's certainly a much meaner introduction than you gave Adam here. It's nice to be here nonetheless, but that was awfully mean.
I know, but we have to start mean sometimes and then move in gentle in the overall theme of the broadcast as well. But with that being, however, the case, it is good having you on, Sam, and we are meant to be talking about the RL scene in somewhat itself as well too, but we will, I suppose, get in touch onto it. But Adam, you wanted something brought up here.
There's been breaking news, Danny.
What exactly are you talking about? Are you sure there's breaking news?
Yes, all of you wonderful people out there who are sitting. Well, I know illegals in here, so maybe at gold rewards.
Right.
Yeah, I
With
believe.
that being the case, can everybody hear us now here? Because if so, it's the new screen, and I hate you, Adam.
This isn't scuffed. This is very professional.
Yes.
I think we're back.
Well, welcome back, everybody. You just heard us 15 minutes of me saying I don't care about the season rewards. In essence, um, you did have points to say, Sam. What were they? So I can unhear them again.
Is it worth saying again? There's a
Yes.
new map and some custom training updates. More information coming next week, apparently, which is awfully exciting.
Anyways, our talking points tonight is Legends finding it difficult, Spring Regional, and LANDON, the 3 major sections, with that being the case as well. And hopefully we'll have audio for the rest of the podcast. We might as well now move to section 1, which is we're going to be speaking about Violent Panda, the bricks somewhat, and the closed qualifiers of Regional 3. I hate this podcast already, but I guess Adam is enjoying it right now. But
Did not take long.
No,
I thought the regret would sink in at least at the end of episode 1. I didn't expect it literally 5 minutes into it.
Yes, with that being the case, we might as well move on to it. It is the Violent Panda tweet, and for a bit of context, within the recent sort of this regional number 3, that Violent Panda quite literally announced a very sore subject, of which is his injury that has severely impacted his career somewhat, and yet nobody has spoken about it in some depths of it. And Atom, I don't know necessarily how to approach this other than surely we're talking about a legend at the end of his career, but based on the content of the tweet itself, sounds like he's trying to push further on here.
Well, the thing is, if you go just a little bit over 2 years ago, just to give everybody, it's tendonitis that he's been suffering with now for 2 years, which if you have any, typically older family members, you'll probably find somebody that's had it, and that is extremely painful. But if you think that just a few months before that, he was on a Dignitas roster that finished second in league play and then won the playoffs and was going to be going into the Season 9 World Championships as the number one seed from EU, there's I'm sort of increasingly coming around to the idea that there's still a player in Violent Panda that can be at the top level. I don't know if I'm just on a bit of the copium, but that season 9, he was incredible. I mean, he wasn't maybe top 10 in the world, but he was certainly on the brink of it still. And really, the drop off that he's had all ties in with when he's had this injury.
Uh, That's, I suppose, a fair point here, but Sam, I think it would be fair to say, without going into much details, we've suffered with injuries ourselves, like many people else as well too, in terms of trying to play the game at a reasonable level, not RLCS level. But what's the approach to the situation here? Because I'm much more of the opinion let's cower into a ball and forget that we have the injury. But Adam's talking about yesteryear and saying he has still a career left into it. Is he foolish with that opinion?
Well, I mean, he's been dealing with it for 2 years and he's played at the top level with this, which is obviously, I mean, you can imagine video games playing Rocket League, especially such a mechanical game. It's going to make a massive difference. And I mean, he's saying in the few interviews he's done about it and his little what he put up on Twitter that he feels he's recovered from it now, and as he said, he's looking to make a return to the scene. And yeah, I don't know. I'd have to probably agree with Adam that he's certainly got certainly a a chance to make it back to the top level. I'd be surprised if he didn't have it in him because he's been hanging around the top level even despite what he's been dealing with. So now that he feels like he's past it, it's going to be really interesting to see what he does next.
Well, to see what he does next, and just for anybody who may be a little bit unsure of Violent Panda in terms of what he has done in the recent season, I suppose, as well too. He's made the fall regional 90-11 in terms of the main event, 5th and 8th, which was with the Flying Dutchman, so then picked up by Heroic, fell off to 15th, 16th, and never really got to make it. He, of course, had the tiebreaker event with Heroic, got second, ultimately means he had to go through the open qualifier, and then failed to make it through the main event itself. In fact, went 15-16 on a different roster. So effectively, I don't want to use the word drop here, Adam, which seems a bit cruel here. But you're talking about what he has potentially moving on for. I'll ask you blunt here. What is forward for Violent Panda?
I mean, to me, I could see him being on a roster that's going to regularly qualify for regionals. I think, you're right to say that obviously in this latest regional that the roster he was on did terrible. And I know we're going to speak about them in a bit more detail. And I did go and give their series against Double O Nation a watch. And I'm going to save some of my points, but
Okay. Well,
I, I'll quite comfortably say that Panda was not the problem in that series, and he wasn't even remotely close to being the problem.
right. Speaking about problems, let's speak about Europe's biggest problem. At least in one particular element of that as well too, and I suppose one that came close to my heart at one point, Coxer 97, or Speed, was
Oh
on the
no.
team in the form of the Bricks or various other versions of it with the likes of Gurley and Rixai, or how it correctly it's meant to be pronounced. My apologies, I will get it wrong no matter how many times I try to pronounce it here. Um, I suppose, in some sense here, Sam, was it a mistake to drop Coxer from that original team?
Well, as far as I know, they still haven't made a main event with the new roster. Very similar results. So, uh, they're certainly not doing any worse, but they're not doing better either. So it's somewhat a lateral move, I suppose.
All right, a bit of a lateral move from that point in time here, but to some extent here that Coxer had a bit more time here to find what potential option is, hasn't been picked up. But however, Speed has somewhat went under the radar, has been selected for the team. So is this more of a mistake on Gurley and Rixie here, Adam, that they've gone for the likes of Speed, who I'm not saying could potentially be volatile in terms of the dynamics of the team? Because we were going to play a particular clip in question, but one of these decided not to because it was a bit too harsh onto it.
I wonder what clip we could possibly be referencing. But to me, Speed's I don't understand what role he was meant to be playing on that roster. He seems to, I mean, in his career, in particular, in his most successful spell with like Flipside and that, winning WSOE and that, he was such an aggressive player, constantly getting in people's faces. Just it was like watching a Jurgen Klopp managing a Rocket League player. And the problem that Speed seems to be having now is that all of this new generation of players like your Moist Esports and your Seikos of the world and that, they're all incredibly quick and they're all significantly more mechanical than him. And watching Speed on that roster was just disjointed. He just didn't seem to be clicking with Growly or Rixie in any sort of meaningful way, and they just constantly looked on the back foot. And I don't doubt that he's probably got some. I'm going to say probably because I don't want to send you off like on the certain clip in question. But I think there's probably a Rocket League head in there that could adapt. But it's going to take him actually accepting he needs to adapt. And right now, I don't see that happening.
I'm just going to put the nail into the coffin. If anybody wants the clip in question, feel free to at me privately or on Twitter, or even through, I suppose, the YouTube or Spotify link if Adam is bothered in terms of editing this shambolic podcast that we decided to rub together after about 3 sessions, if you want to know the backstory of that. But I suppose we might as well touch in terms of the Regional 3 qualifier itself, because when you talk about Speed not being capable, not being a player of delivering, Adam, and I agree with you because he's absolutely frustrating to watch. Yeah, don't get me wrong, I love him to bits, but unfortunately just doesn't have it. That's what it feels like. But we did speak about Ronagate to some extent of a teammate of Speed, so we might as well look at him, the sort of the former Liquid player here. And funny enough, he's teamed with Violent Panda. So, Adam, I heard you had some questionable opinions. What are they?
Right. Now, I will say, I didn't watch all of their series, so I'm going to caveat with that in case anybody in the chat's seen more of it and decides that they have a different opinion. So I'm just throwing out my caveat now. But their series against Double O Nation was an absolute shambles, predominantly from Mads and Ronicky, because the amount of times I saw them both, you had like Ronicky challenge the ball, Mads was like just completely over aggressed beyond the play, and Violent Panda sitting about trying to actually keep himself in a relevant position. But it's very hard to be in a relevant position when your teammates are constantly losing 50-50s and putting you in 1v3s. And it was just hopeless. I was like, honestly, watching it, I would reckon that you could grab just about any free SSLs or even chuck in a GC free into there, and you could probably have got a more coherent rotation out of them. It was just ridiculous to watch. And if anybody's not seen that series, go and watch it because even whenever there wasn't that many goals in it, Double O Nation, if they actually just like knuckled down and were like, oh, we're actually going to go 100% at, could have put another 4 or 5 past them in each game. It was so bad to watch.
Well, speaking about SSL, we have Sam still on the line.
Oh, give over. Stop. No, we're
no,
not doing
no,
this.
no.
I know the LTXSam bullying segment you're trying to pull into this podcast, Danny. It's not going to fly.
No, don't worry. I'm not here to bully you. It will be Adam. Don't worry. But he's talking about a potential horse of a team to watch there at times, which was frustrating. I'm not saying here, but Ronicky, and we will touch somewhat. I might as well actually go full in somewhat here. Ronicky had the full selection in Team Liquid to make a roster here. he's ended up with what one at the stage, by the way, at the rumours that came to me when Adam started talking of Violent Panda. Now, Mads, I'm not going to discredit. He's a good player, but he's not of the same caliber. What on earth is Ronicky thinking here?
Oh, you want me to get into the head of anarchy?
Well, good luck to you.
I would fancy your chances at this, Sam, because there doesn't seem to be much of a head on him at the moment.
Okay, well, no, we're not going to just slate Ronicky. Danny, what do you think? You've been asking our opinions all day.
Uh,
I feel like you've probably got some views
uh,
on here
uh,
that
uh,
the listeners would like to hear.
I love how the let's avoid the touchy subject here and throw it to my end here. I've cast it Ronick for a year and a half. I think everybody knows my opinion here, Sam. I think it's fair to hear yours.
Um, what
That
is
was a
on
great get
Ronicky's
out.
mind? I don't have a lot of insight into the situation. Lack of options, maybe. I mean, Mads. I mean, both Danish players. Who knows? Maybe a bit of camaraderie in that department. Um. Uh.
Do you remember the tweet?
Honestly, I can't justify it. I don't understand why it would. I
Okay.
don't get it.
I think something about this roster is it's quite clearly a pickup roster, to be fair. Before we do go absolutely ham in on destroying this roster, because anybody that's watched a single game of these guys will know that this roster is never going to work. But
So, are you telling me here at the end of the season, 3 players have randomly qualified and they're not maybe taking it serious, Adam?
I would never be able to comment on such rumors, Danny.
Well, I suppose we may as well touch on somewhat of the Violent Panda X's in the form of Yukio Rai and No, or well, I was going to say Noasiki, but I'm not sure how correctly it should be pronounced, but Noah for the sake of argument. Rai, when he originally gone into this, Speeds disappeared, Growly potentially on a different team, and then, well, the former heroic roster picked this player up here. I'll ask you this question, Sam, and again, I might as well throw it to your direction. What was the heroic or ex-heroic lineup thinking of dropping Violent Panda one regional because they couldn't really qualify to the World Championship? It is their last chance off it. Surely it would have been best to wait till the off season here than trying a player here, or maybe I'm misunderstanding what they're attempting to do here.
I mean, there could be any assortment of reasons. I mean, the first thing is like looking in the. I understand looking in the long term and saying, oh, they're not able to qualify for the main event, but I mean, the individual events, I mean, you're still getting a little bit of clout and showing, oh, yes, I'm still relevant. Here's what I've just done. So they could be thinking in the short term they have a better chance with regionals with the new pickup than VP. Um, Alternatively, they could be trying options. I mean, off season coming up, who knows? Maybe there was some internal issues with Violent Panda. I mean, any assortment of reasons, but it's certainly. I actually wouldn't say it's worked out too badly for them because I mean, obviously they didn't qualify for the regional, but they certainly put up some good performances in the matchups that they had, and they got essentially as close as you can get without making the event. So.
Yeah, they had those two narrow best of 5 losses against Algerie and Gross Noobs, and they had, I think in both of them, there was a couple of games that went to overtime that they lost. So there seems to be a team there that could, if the luck breaks the other way for them. I know they'd like to get by without having to rely on any form of luck, but it's watching them. They seem to be, very aggressive. You know, at times they looked a little bit haphazard. A lot of, sometimes there's moments where it just like seemed to be slightly disjointed, but on the whole, the sort of way they were playing seemed to work.
And that's
I
to be
think they just
expected.
sometimes rushed it a bit. I think it was one of those things of like new roster. I think having Rixie there, obviously, Yukio and Noosaki and that they're on heroic. I think they're obviously thinking, oh, there's a job here for us if we can really start performing. And at times it just looked like maybe that pressure kind of got to them, just rushed plays a bit too much. But honestly, I think there's some promise in that roster, so I'd be interested to see more of them. Whether we do or not, it's going to be a different question, obviously. But I was relatively impressed.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like that bad of an idea. On the face of it. And as you said, especially with the performance if I remember correctly, and I wasn't watching too closely when it was going on, but I believe it was two awfully bottly game fives as well. So you make a good point as well with the fact that there could be a bit of a nerves coming into play.
Mhm.
Well, all reasonable points as well too. But with that being the case, before we move slightly off the day 3 of the closed qualifiers, you somewhat was alluding to potential a few results in key bits of it. One of the teams in question that Adam did bring up was 00 Nation, and I'm going to throw in Williams Resolve here. Slightly two different reasons on this one. And Adam, I'll let you pick which one. Do you want 00 Nation or William Resolve?
I'll go. I'll go 00 Nation. I'll go with them. I did watch a little bit of Williams Resolve, but I think I've got more to say on Double O Nation, where they just.
Here's my question for you then, Adam.
Yes, I'm intrigued.
What on earth is wrong with them? This surely should be a main event team.
Oh, this is the thing. I really love Flame as a player. Mainly because I balled him in a Gfinity tournament once, along with
Hold on, can we all take a
the other two.
moment here that the three panelists here, it's Atom that brings up, oh, I played against an ex-player and balled him.
No,
Bravo.
all I'll say is I'm not going to confirm
Well,
or deny
hold
the
on.
final score of that game.
Just for the records, Sam and I had played against Speed and beat him in twos.
Well, now, Danny, you and I have played with a lot of pros,
Yes,
but
yes, we
obviously,
have. We don't need to list them all.
no,
Yes, I'm
no.
just
Listen, it's a
rubbing
long
it in
list.
there.
We don't have all day, but I
Yu-Gi-Oh,
believe.
Scrub Killer,
Ah,
etc.
well, Danny,
Yes.
Danny, you're giving them a peek behind the. Don't give them that. But I mean, we almost retired Speed that day.
Ah. Well, let's
I
just
don't
say,
know if you remember it. The day before the RLCS, played against Danny and Sam. Didn't go too well for him, and carried on into the next day. And I believe he got first rounded
yeah,
next day, if I'm
yes,
not
he did.
mistaken.
I had to
Yeah.
cast that series. Um,
Well, maybe. Maybe
Throwing
that could
salt
have
into the
something.
wind.
Yeah, salt in the wound.
yeah, it would have been better if I probably played that day, but we'll leave Speed alone on that one.
Oh, Speed.
Yeah, to be
Well,
fair, Sam thought it was him that was going to get it tonight.
But
Uh,
still.
I've been completely upstaged here.
uh,
I've given them actually no I've given them one of my very few claims to fame. I was like, I'll have to save the others and spread them out over the episodes.
Yeah,
oh,
Bald Flame still lost
hold,
15-1.
hold on,
I mean,
hold on,
now,
hold on,
it
Adam.
was we only conceded half as many goals as that.
Hold on, Adam. I love how you said episodes like we're doing multiple in this one set or season.
Well,
I think 3 at best, probably.
Oh, is
still
this not a
more than the
one-time?
couple.
Wait, are we doing more of these?
I
Did
don't
you
know.
not read your contract, Sam?
Oh god, I didn't
The
read the
one
fine
that
print.
doesn't involve any pay.
I see something in here in white ink.
Oh yeah, I see it as well. It says ha 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 ha. Suck it.
Well, we hope all you listeners are enjoying it at the moment. This is the audio broadcast, and to stick it in the boot to somebody, our German friend KuroTenshi, the actual owner and admin, if I'm remembering correctly, decided to book a holiday on the very day we decided to do the podcast. Somewhat suspicious that.
Can everybody in chat boo him, please? Just a big boo, Kuro.
Should we take at this point in time here, Adam, of reading maybe a few opinions from our ill-informed chat as who is just equally so as us?
You can go ahead, Danny.
I'm going to move swiftly on then. With that being the case as well, too, William Resolve was the other topic as well, too. We love you all, the dear listeners, onto this one. You aren't ill-informed, we're just stupid. But William Resolve's Sam had some natural problems in the form of size, and Super Rixie was able to play for a game or two, and potentially as well the Vitality transfer ultimately. Was this just a deconstruction of the team and a natural implosion, or is this the end of the road? What's the situation here? What's the likely outcome we're looking for this roster here?
It's a great question. It's one of those cases where it's the end of the season. Uh, which generally, I mean, especially in Europe, I feel like a lot of the rosters will not be sticking together into the off season. So it's not even necessarily a comment on Williams' resolve specifically. I just don't see a lot of the European teams sticking together. Maybe Adam, what do you think?
I think the problem for Williams Resolve is that they obviously lost Radisson, which is just it's kind of ripped the heart out of that team. They're you've got they just don't look like a roster that's capable of being in a main event. Never mind, actually trying to do well, which it's a bit of a shame because with Radisson, I mean, they would have still, I think, had that slight outside chance of even trying to sneak into Worlds or like not the Worlds, sorry, but the LAN. It's just, but then they never really did get a proper chance to get a replacement, which arguably I'd say is frustrating considering, that rumor about Radisson going to Vitality lingered for a good month and a half. So to have not gotten a replacement, or at least not gotten the replacement that they wanted, it's just a frustrating time. But regardless of what happens with that roster, I think Williams Resolve seemed quite big on Rocket League. So if it's not with this roster, I do think we'll see this org continue in the scene at least.
It's a great org from what I hear. Just a little inside source. It's great guys.
Yeah, the content that they put out as well seems to be pretty on point. I mean, not as much as the teams that like Dignitas and Energy and that are plowing out just about daily content, but whenever they are putting out, it seems to be quality, and you can tell there's a little bit of love behind it.
Aw, isn't that nice?
Isn't that nice?
Very wholesome. Awfully wholesome for this podcast, I think.
Don't worry, the bullying will recommence shortly.
As the conversation ends, I will swiftly move in, I say here on that point. We might as well say that is the closed qualifiers somewhat touched up as well too. If you want to know who failed to qualify for the rest of it, you can look up on Liquipedia because that's the end of the season. We might not need or know of the particular teams or lineups and that there, but the only thing that was majorly significant in this or close qualifier at the time was retirement tome has struck again. Oh, I thought Adam may have chirped in there, but with that being the case as well too.
I mean, all I'll say is that I'll bring it up. So
Go
the
on.
first player that we're going to speak about is Polar. Now, if anybody's decided to have a wee gander at Polar's Wikipedia page, you'll see he's retired twice now, which is only one less time than Danny Boy. But what I will say that he beats Danny on is that this retirement, technically, he was on 4 different rosters.
All right, I'm going to ask you to name them.
So,
I'm pretty sure it's only 3, Adam.
Was it not 4? I know Team Orange Gaming was one. Singularity, I think they technically left earlier in the month. I could be wrong on that.
Right, just for the record, but
Edelweiss Esports was the other one from the Swiss League. I remember that.
Right, for a bonus point of the mini-game section that hasn't existed already, Sam, would you like to stick with the answers Adam has given, or do you think Adam is right here?
Oh, it's a good question. I am going to say Adam is wrong.
Well, rude.
Well, I'm not giving a bonus point anyway. He was wrong, but it was 3 teams, and it was the 3 that he said, so nobody gets a point. And with that being the case, Polar, we love you dearly. Sorry to see you decide to retire. He is going into coaching, but with that being the case as well.
Look to see him again.
Yeah, that's the case. And speaking about seeing again as well, the former Rival Series player Taz has decided to call time on his career, so we'll see it next season, like every Rocket League player in Europe decides to do. Do we want to add anything on this, gentlemen?
I'm not gonna lie. Whenever I did these on on our talking points, I did have to go and re-Google who Taz was because I was like, I remember him playing on like.
That is outrageous. You cannot say that.
I mean, I could remember that he played on Barcelona, but I didn't know where else he had played. So I
So,
went and had a look. And he's played on a lot of really good teams.
sorry, Adam. How could you forget Taz and Matean on Echo Zulu? DreamHack, known for that, and he got annoyed because he was a defensive god and didn't want that.
I mean, all I'll say, good player from what I remember.
Right, with that being the case, while he's been a good player, Adam, I believe there might be a mic issue, so can you restart on your end?
Yes, I shall do.
With that being the case, Sam, any thoughts on our retirement players for this week before they eventually unretire, or shall we leave them in the retirement home to be nursed?
I don't want to say anything too heartfelt. You have to save something for next time.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Hope Pola comes back. Especially, I enjoyed Pola. He's a fun player to watch. Taz, I haven't followed any of his teams quite as closely as I probably followed Pola, but from what I've heard, good things. I think he's just quitting the game. He's playing it for fun. So hopefully he has a good time with that.
Well, hopefully a good time. Adam, have you returned?
He most definitely has.
Yes.
Oh, he
Now I've returned.
has.
Is that better?
I don't know. The last I heard, our live viewers, bless you, said you were Robo Adam. I don't know if that was accurate or not. Or they're just trolling.
I'll be back.
I think it might
Sorry.
have been just a comment on his Rocket League skills, maybe.
I mean,
Yeah.
I have been compared to a bot many times.
Right, with that being the case as well, that is section 1 over. To that being the case as well, ladies and gentlemen, I've been looking forward to hitting this button, and I think Adam has well been too.
Ooh. Look at all the fancy graphics. Oh, is it singing?
It is.
Oh.
And welcome to the Who Am I round. If you have been hearing us laughing in the background, I don't care. Welcome to the scuffest podcast there is in the European scene. In fact, the only European podcast that's somewhat still active. And by active, we don't know.
I like how we are now active on one episode. We've set the bar high for the region.
I love how the entire scene of Rocket League as a whole has first touch, and Europe has us. The scuff cousins of the other side of the ocean.
I was under the impression that we weren't doing that jingle today, so I apologise. Maybe we'll play it again at another point so I can get its
Yes,
due
we
respect.
certainly will. In fact, we will be playing this round. If you haven't worked out of Who Am I, we will be having 5 clues of this particular person in the Rocket League scene. Slight twist to the rules, however. With each guess, they will have a maximum total of 10 points to win. With each guess, gentlemen, it will go down 8-6-4-2. However, at the end of it, there will be 1 point if I have to repeat all the clues to give you one last chance. However, this is the small twist, Adam, since this is your original game. If you think that you have the answer, you can say final answer, and for the sake of the argument that Coxer was the person in question, you must say final answer, and that will be locked in. But, Sam, you could have steal it away from because you get to hear all the clues unopposed. I suppose that is the rule set. Are you happy with that?
Yes.
Good. If you're confused listening to this, it becomes very easy once we actually play the game as well too. Sam, since you've got the Liquipedia page, the most recent of all 3 of us, you get to choose between the envelopes in front of me labelled 1, 2 and 3.
Oh, I will take 1, please.
Right, number 1 as well too. And by the looks of it, I've opened it up. It is the easiest, funny enough out of this one here.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
Please don't say. Yeah. Oh God. Okay.
Uh,
Not.
I'm looking forward to this one. All right, sorry, I'm
Okay.
looking forward to the later ones on tonight here. So, clue number one, gentlemen. This is a French player established himself at a high level around 2019.
Oh, and so now I have to make a guess
No,
as to
no, you
who
don't
this.
have to make a guess. You can tell me your thoughts. Adam could
Oh,
also tell your thoughts as well too. But Sam, do you have any?
well, just to the Twitch chat, feel free to play along. I'll be watching closely for any good suggestions. 2019. Uh,
With that.
I am definitely going to need another clue. There's a lot of French players, especially in that sort of time frame. Can I
Okay.
please
Yep.
have another clue?
Oh no, both of you are playing at the same time here. So
Oh, Adam. Oh, okay.
yes.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Adam.
I I I think I have a really good idea of who it could be.
All right, you can share it, but if you don't want to, but are you both happy for me to concede to our next clue?
Yes.
By the awkward silence there at the original bit, it sounds that was the indeed answer. So, our clue number two for our first set. His results early in his career raised an eyebrow, specifically in 2020.
Okay, I know who it
I
is.
Right?
I think
If you say final answer, you cannot change it.
Monkey Moon,
yes.
final answer.
I know.
All right, hold on here. Adam, are you locked in? I just want to confirm this.
I want to
Yes.
lock in Monkey Moon.
Right, all right. I'm going to read through the rest of the clues here.
Okay.
Right, and unfortunately, you're going to be annoyed with yourselves.
Oh no, don't tell
Oh,
me.
Oh,
As
don't tell me it's extra.
as both of you have locked in, clue number three would have been that season has increased to 10 teams. However, one of their closest matches was against TSM. This team, at the time, their coach was Snaski, TSM to be more specifically. Clue number four, going
Oh,
0 and 9. A lot of trust required to pick up this player. The trust pays off. Interview by Finn from Octane GG titled "We Are Only Just Getting Started." And clue number five, his Wikipedia has first in the fall, winter, and spring from season X, but second in the European Championship and won the fall spring major of this current season. And based on the original hesitation from Adam, you were correct on the second guess, but I cannot accept it. It was extra indeed. There's no points awarded to both of our two players this round.
It's so annoying, honestly. See on the first clue, whenever you said the breakthrough in 2019, I immediately was like, right, it'll be extra, because I was like, Monkey Moon's real breakthrough was the season after, and then as soon as I don't know
yeah,
why I
blame
was
the
thinking
host,
that.
Adam.
That's it. I'm blaming Danny, even though it's all my fault.
Right,
But
I did,
like every
I
good
did,
British person, I have to blame authority.
I did say if you say final answer, you cannot lock it. It was the one twist to this game. I thought it was worthwhile.
Oh, that was rude. I
So,
shouldn't have done that.
so no points awarded to our first round of Who Am I. I hope you enjoyed our little fun with that. But with that being the case, we will be moving swiftly to section number two of our podcast. And with that being the case, you can see it's the Dacia Spring Cup, the Tour de Rocket League, and the Super 16. You might be wondering, what is that if you have no clue at the moment? That is the three main events of the Rocket League scene itself for the European event. And I suppose we might as well look towards more specifically regional number one as an overview. And based on your screens, I saw one of our listeners at the time, Adam and Sam, addresses to the Soccer Saturday theme. We hope you enjoy this because this was an absolute pain to set up, but it was great fun nonetheless. So, with that being the case as well, too, Adam, we might as well somewhat talk about the fact as well. BDS back on top. It feels like.
I mean, I don't think anybody, like, I think everybody thought BDS signing Seiko was going to be unfair on the European region, because how were you meant to top that? But let's be honest, did anybody actually think it was going to be as ridiculously good as what they've turned out? They're just, it's like poetry. It's such, it's almost perfect Rocket League. They just seem to never make any mistakes, and they're not having to rely on any individual player. They're all capable of really doing anything they could possibly want to do in this game. And it, I run out of words to really say about how good they are to watch now. And really, I know we're going to find out in a few weeks, but to me, they're favourites for the major.
Uh,
That's what I would say. And I would say pretty comfortably. I think the most telling thing about it is how far ahead they seem to be of Moist. Because Moist are still fucking ridiculous.
That being said, Moist had a very weak regional. To be honest, I think they've had a pretty weak time lately. The last, essentially this split. Defensively, they've been a little bit all over the shop. I do agree with your point though about them being their favorite for the major. I think they're very good on LAN especially, which will probably play to their favor.
well, that sounds good as well too, and I suppose it would be. I might be wrong with saying this here, but Sam, were they maybe slightly overhyped from winter Moist here? Because they did have a reasonable performance, probably surprised quite a lot here, being Europe's arguably last chance. Is there something missing from them, or are they just playing the numbers game here and just making sure they get to Landon in the first place?
I think individually they're all great players. I think they have the potential to be a great team together, and we've seen that before in short bursts. And also, to be fair, in like fairly, and they've been reasonably consistent up until this split. But I feel like there's been a little bit of a drop off in that department. Um, but I think they have some of the most talented players in Europe on that team, and that's not something you can really understate.
Well,
I
you
think the real telling thing is going to be this weekend, really. Because
Yeah.
I know we're saying that defensively they've maybe not looked quite as. I mean, I know we'll obviously talk a little bit about Liquid later, but that significantly loss that they had to Liquid in Regional 2 was something that completely came out of left field. But really, it's a roster that won in the winter split, won two of the regionals, finished runner up in the second, finished runner up in the first regional, and they've had one, well, and finished top four against a peaking Liquid. So
well,
it's like they're. I think this weekend will be the real telling point because there's a few teams that really seem to be playing well right now, well, at least based off of what we've seen tonight.
well, we'll get on to more specifically Regional 3 as its own topping point. But for the sake of a bit of statistics, if you are into that in terms of the Regional 1, in terms of the final itself, which told its own story somewhat as well, Sam, that BDS 3 goals per game against 1.75 against Moyes. However, four, I'll just round up kindly, say five for Moist here. This was not a shy match from either of the two here. Moist, when they're in front, don't get me wrong, are credible, but they seem to struggle. At least how the statistics of the game would suggest here. Maybe also would be a problem in its own regards here because they have not worked out how to play against BDS. I wouldn't say properly. They have, of course, done so recently up to this stage here, but not in spring.
I mean, BDS have quite a unique play style in Europe, I think, where they sort of have the two lines of defense. They sort of have a fake one where they kind of essentially force the first man on the ball to make a play, and then they sort of drop that line back quite a considerable distance, and then they've lost possession essentially, and it's quite simple to depossess them with Moist having such mechanical, somewhat solo play orientated players, as well as quite a young team, and probably not as high in the game sense department as the likes of BDS. I think they're a couple of the factors that play into that matchup and why maybe they struggle specifically against BDS.
Well,
I think one of the interesting things about Moyes is that it was said a lot at the in the winter major about Moyes with momentum and the effect that momentum seems to have on this roster a lot more than others because they generally just don't lose game sixes or sevens. I mean, I can't remember what the exact record was, but at one point they were something like what there were like 20 wins in game sevens to only like 5 losses. It was outrageous. But do you think that's a big part of just them being a young team that whenever they do manage to change it, build up that momentum, they just seem to be able to maintain it?
It's a good question, that, but I think the statistic was actually a bit more volatile than that. Where it was mostly the OT's record. I think it was like 25, 27, and only losing five to remain one
Mm.
goal margins games. But the cast your mind back of the Spanish lineup just before season X itself really began as well too. They were known for the game five expertise as well too. It seems like Moyes is able to step it up to game sevens as well too. But you can't rely on that forever.
No, I think that's probably the problem that they faced against BDS, is that now you're playing a BDS team who are, well, clinical, to put it lightly.
I think BDS are quite a distance ahead of the pack when it comes to Europe. I don't think there's many people who can compete with them. And I think the one team that has the potential to at the moment is Moist, and that doesn't seem to be a particularly favorable matchup for them at the moment. So
Well,
Ooh.
I think one of the nice bits actually, just I know, like we say, BDS have certainly got the upper hand at the moment. I think like it's interesting you saying about the two lines of defense that BDS now have, because I think one of the concerns people had with Seiko going to that roster was you do have a guy that is often a bit more defensive, and then he's getting himself 100 boosts and then going for a solo play. But now, this new setup seems to just work. But the thing I'm really looking forward to is it's been a long time since in a region where we've had two top teams that are a complete clash of styles. And we're going to get to enjoy this while Moist figure it out. Because I don't doubt that they will figure out and begin to hurt BDS. But it might just, I get the impression it might take a bit more into the major and maybe a little bit closer to Worlds before we actually see them getting over that hump.
Just a general question to throw out there, because I'm trying to sit here and roughly work it out here. Different play styles in terms of general here. In terms of the top end of Europe, what would be the sort of the prime example of the two different play styles? Because I'm trying to recall there, and usually Europe is pretty much similar throughout.
I think what Adam's saying is Moist and BDS are very much a clash of ideals to an extent, where Moist would be much more mechanical, maybe slightly a more respectfully to BDS, but a somewhat quicker and more solo play oriented team. And then BDS, I mean, defensively, they kind of just in the midfield, especially fake challenge almost unconditionally from what I've seen, um, which is not uncommon, but BDS do it to an extent where it's certainly more noticeable than most of the teams in Europe. And as Adam said, Moist are mostly just really good at linking up and mechanics, and by mechanics I obviously mean so
Yeah,
like
I don't disagree that, but I'm trying to sort of, if you can name two teams at the top at the time of the European region, the 5 years of an esports, what would be the prime other example here we're talking about? Because
Really, you're going.
yeah,
Uh,
I'm just curious
I
because
honestly can't
I would like
recall
to
it
explode that.
happening.
Because I'm thinking PSG and maybe the old Guildforce and Dignitas lineup potentially would be an example when Bluey was first on the scene, but I can't really recall two different, and I mean outstandingly different, in the form of Moise and BDS, because I didn't really consider that way.
I mean, you're not going to accept an answer of two teams from different regions, I assume.
No. This is the European podcast. This is
Yeah,
not.
no, I'm
I was going to
just.
say, yeah, because the obvious one is going back to the beginning of the pro scene and the difference between IBP Cosmic and Flipside.
Yes,
But
one that
obvious, but
should have won a
this is
world championship and the other did.
but this is the thing though, is that in one region we've not, well, in Europe in particular, where I think over time, whether rightly or wrongly, a lot of people have perhaps I don't want to say tarnish because it implies I'm saying it's bad, considering we've obviously won the majority of RLCSs over on this side of the pond. But I think a lot of people liked to reduce Europe to, oh, Europe plays this way, and there was a set way that European teams played, and it seemed. I think it probably comes from having North American casters, North American stream, a majority North American audience, and it was easier to just tell the story like that. But I think, yeah, in terms of a drastic playstyle change, I think the last time we saw somebody really trying to buck the trend, it was probably Veloce, whenever they had Virtuoso, and that was just because, well, Virtuoso just liked to hit players more than the ball, which very quickly didn't work out for them. But
well,
seeing two teams do this successfully is certainly not something that's happened in Europe, I'd argue.
interesting points, and a topic I didn't even think that we were headed into that direction. But Regional 2 now on our screens as well too. No surprise, we've lined up BDS being the top team, has seemed to be considering Moist, as everybody has been talking about, it seems to be the second best team of the region. That might be a little bit more arguable. But I'm not saying here, but there's two, possibly three teams stand out in Regional 2, and I don't know. I think we might as well start with K Corp on that one. And Sam, the potential of their sort of notable matchups seem to be okay during this region for them.
Let me just make sure. What regional are you talking about? Is that regional
Regional
1 or regional 2?
Regional 2, the
Oh, of course, the regional where they destroyed everybody.
yes, that particular one.
Everyone was talking a lot about their form in the guild series in the lower quarters. I actually found that the yeah, once again respectfully, but the guild, I feel like guild were playing really, really not at the same level as Carmine, and it's not a great insight into. I thought that was actually quite a shoddy game almost, but the series between Moist and Carmine, and then eventually Liquid versus Carmine, really show. And I feel like it's kind of the first time we've seen this with this team. Um, a them having so much potential and just popping off to the extent that they did. It was particularly nice. I enjoyed watching them score the Nolly score the initial 2 goals against Guild in that series, especially who obviously I believe he just found off on Twitter that he'd been dropped the regional before, which is I enjoyed watching that series especially.
I was wondering
Yeah,
how.
they're it was sort of the ultimate revenge story for Nolly, which for storyline was just beautiful to watch because I would even argue that whenever Carmine Corp signed him, I'm sure I wasn't alone in it, but I sat there and thought, really? Because Guild just hadn't been up to very much, and I was like, okay, Nolly's clearly a very good player, but is he really the solution to Carmine Corp's problems? And well, the answer appears to be yes on current form.
I think Carmine Corp are actually I think they're 3 really good players. I don't think there's
Oh yeah, without
yeah,
a doubt.
yeah, and I think they're gonna become something of a force to be reckoned with in Europe in the potentially if they stick together through the off season, especially if we get to see them play in the LCS again.
I
I'm
think the real interesting bit's going to be whenever things don't go right for them because
Yeah, it's a good point.
Regional One
Astral.
wasn't. Yeah,
oh,
I know that this is the thing. I mean, Astral, I'm hoping is shall we not say not as famously, not quite as adept at
Infamous.
tilting, yeah, as he used to be. I mean, I'm hoping that he's gotten past that. And I mean, I don't want to break into too much of this regional again, but it's obviously fresh in the head. But they did drop down to the lower rounds tonight. Spoiler alert! And they did go and then beat Team Vitality 3-1, which I did watch, and they looked bloody impressive.
uh,
Which they've just dropped down.
uh,
I'm like,
uh,
maybe there is a bit of resolve there.
I love how you said no spoilers and yet gone on to potentially spoil there, Adam. But thank you very much for that.
That's me in a nutshell, Danny boy.
Uh,
And
uh,
to be fair, it's a bad idea to watch a Rocket League podcast live less than a couple of hours after the regional.
Look, this was the only time we could get agreement with three of us at one time.
And we only got 3 out of 4 in the end.
Yes, of which still blame Kuro.
To be fair, Sam, 75% is still an A.
Yeah, no, we'll certainly take that.
Well, speaking about A's as well too, I suppose the Casey and Moy series was also a worthwhile watch as well too. I have to say, it's to just again steal from your point earlier that Moist is arguably the second best team in the regional. The only problem is they lost.
Yes, and once again,
Yes, that's it.
no, listen, I think that Moist defensively have been a hot mess this split entirely. Now obviously, I mean, I don't want to go too in on the players because they're all
Oh,
good players. Obviously, they're also young as well, so you don't want to criticize young talent. But it's
speak for yourself on that one.
I suppose just it's not even any individual's performance that's specifically bad. It's just a team is just not gelling well together at all.
Well, fair enough. With that being the case as well too, and since Adam has been leaking it all night, we might as well look at the. Well, I'll just bring up briefly for our viewers the total standings as it is, but we'll focus more specifically on spring as well too. This was everything as it stood going into today. This has been the 10th of this particular month, known of course as June. Third regional, everybody was looking around here. I love how Sam is laughing at that as well too.
I'm sorry, Danny. You're doing a great job. Keep going.
Yes, thank you
This
very
is-
much for that.
Oh God.
Oh God, indeed. Regret.
No,
sneaking
I was
through.
enjoying it. I regret stepping in. I should have just
Nah,
muted
it's
up
all right.
and, sat back.
I enjoyed
got
in
the
that case
popcorn.
as well too. But the top five, as it stood going into it, was BDS, Moist, Liquid, KC, and of course Solary. 802, 600, 530, 510, 430, respectively. So BDS being the only team that had confirmed their spot here, and there was a bunch of scenarios that could have went through. So before we had, I was going to ask our thoughts going into this main event here, but Adam's already decided to spoil elements of it, so we might as well bring up the at least the results side of everything being the case as well too. And on the screen you see yourself Dignitas and Semper being the somewhat biggest surprise of 3-1, but I didn't watch that match. I was watching 3 matches, and I was the only one watching the Liquid versus Guild series.
And how did that series go, Danny?
Well, how can I put this politely? Guild are the biggest butler jobs in the scene at the moment, it feels like.
Oh,
Well-
well, listen, David Beckham's made some bad decisions in terms of the roster clearly after the Carmine series.
I thought we were
I
going
mean,
to talk about
that's-
his hair, never mind what team it was. But
Do you think David Beckham will take a leaf out of Ferguson's book and give him the hairdryer treatment?
no, because I don't think Beckham might not be smart enough to do that.
All I can say is that if we get Casio posting up an apology picture on Twitter with a plaster up on his just above the eyebrow, we'll know. We will know.
Well, was it a boot or a water bottle that done it, or a stud?
I think I think it was originally reported that it was a water bottle, but it was actually a football boot.
All right. Well,
Saying that, didn't David Beckham quite famously used to get rid of his boots? So every single game that he ever played in his career was a new pair of boots. I could be completely making that up. I'm sure that was true.
well,
That's
you go ahead,
Oh.
Sam. Don't worry.
no, we were taking bets before the podcast on who would be the first
Ye-
people to interject.
Yes, and I said
all
me.
bets were on Adam.
No, I said it would be myself.
I don't remember what my point was. It can't have been particularly good.
Uh,
You're the one to blame.
Yeah,
David Beckham football boots,
yeah.
Oh,
some form
football
of assault.
boots. Yeah, yeah.
Sam is
I
currently
did.
looking up the rules of football.
It's like Rocket League except for people now.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, you can't fly.
Well, I can't fly in Rocket League
Well,
anyways.
Adam can certainly fly, especially when it's Football Monitor 22 and somehow score goals that pass certain people. Oh,
Now, Danny, we're not allowed to talk about football manager when Fluff's in the chat because he'll just lord over us with his free titles.
4 was it not?
I don't know. I'm
All,
trying to
all, all, all
remember.
all that I know is I cost Adam a title by parking the bus and going for it at the same time. Don't ask me how that works, but that's what happened. Well, I suppose we should dangerously move back to the Rocket League stuff if we don't mind, gentlemen.
Why would we ever want to do such a thing like that?
All right, we can talk about the rest of the Football Manager stuff for the next how long we're going to
Okay,
do this.
let's not do that.
All right, with that being the case as well, too, I think it's fair at this point here to talk about Liquid.
Ooh.
Unfortunately, I think you're right.
Now, I think it would be fair to say Liquid, as an organisation, if you looked at their results, have been disappointing.
I mean, they've went through more rosters than well, it can't be far behind how many rosters Pashy went through.
I was thinking Mike Rules, but he didn't try.
Mike just kept popping up with Jazer or Bipod and that, and just random rosters going like, oh yeah, and then taking
Yeah.
professional teams to game fives after
I
the time with
suppose
Flip's
Growley might be the worst offender of swapping of teams. Trying to think else. Who
actually
else?
true.
Bluey.
Growly's a good one. Bluey. Eh.
Well, to be
Yeah,
fair,
Yeah,
Bluey.
he did stay on PSG for quite some time.
aye, but since then,
Against his will for the most part, but
well, with that particular nice thought as well too. Liquids, however, I suppose I owe an apology. So, as shocking as that sentence is, I did not think this roster would come out the way they have. I thought this was going to be a long-term project.
I mean,
Are you saying Liquid are better or worse than you expected?
I thought they were going to be a lot worse. I thought this team wasn't going to make a day 3 close qualifier event. Never mind knocking on a grand final in the main event.
Yes, that was good. I would agree.
It's nice to see Robotic Sam has came in with his very steel. Yes, that is good.
They're doing pretty well in Regional 3 as well, actually. Once again, oh, are we doing spoilers? I think, yeah, we're doing spoilers.
we've already spoiled more
Yeah,
than
yeah,
enough.
I mean,
Well,
Danny's fault.
Get
Okay,
on
so
this. Join me on this bandwagon,
Oh,
Sam.
just for the record, before you ruin the party, it has Regional 3 graphic on the screen right now for our mostly audio listeners, but it is there.
Oh, the audio listeners, unlucky.
Yes.
We're such pretty.
There is a way you can
not
get.
knockoffs off of Football Focus.
There is a way you can get video onto Spotify, but I don't trust Adam will be the one to figure it out. So unfortunately for you audio listeners, that is unfortunately the case.
Yes. If you are on YouTube, you're not missing much.
Is YouTube audio as well? Surely we can get the
we'll put the
graphics on
whole thing up
YouTube.
on
We can make
YouTube.
it.
Yeah, we'll
Danny,
get
don't
all
say
of it on
that.
YouTube.
We'll
I
figure
can
this
delete
out.
the mod.
I look forward to the first 15 minutes of us ripping on nothing with blank sound on the opening of this podcast. But yes,
Well, yeah, we might cut that bit out. That was.
Chat can decide whether we cut it.
I think there should be a tweet on that one with a poll.
Sounds like a plan. But back to Liquid.
Yes,
Yeah, they've been doing good.
yes,
They've been doing.
yes. They have.
Go on, Danny. This is you seem like you want to make this point.
No,
so
I don't.
it's-
No, I
No.
really don't.
The
what
extent
I'll
of
say-
analysis I have is that they've been doing good.
What I'll say on Liquid is that they've only lost a couple of well, the series that they've lost. They lost in Regional 1 to Vitality where they got swept. But to be fair, Vitality came out in that regional and actually looked like a Rocket League team again, which was, I think, a surprise for a lot of people
Yeah,
that they looked as good as they did.
yeah, but
And then the next series they
no,
lost was
hold
against
on here a
Carmine.
second here before you carry on. If you're going through the historical data against Liquid versus Vitality, Vitality has always beaten Liquid.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
Adam.
but
Have you considered that, Adam?
it's like, to be fair, it's basically a different Liquid roster. And
It was also a different player on Vitality.
yes, exactly.
Yes.
So, yeah, you've ruined my point.
I know I've enjoyed ruining your point.
Yeah, it's like I'm just getting PTSD to being in nursery and kids knocking over my building blocks.
Did you ever do the dominoes and had it all lined up, or the cars in a straight line and somebody
I,
just
I
destroyed it?
I'd done the dominoes, but hadn't done the car in the straight line.
All right. This is a man who may work professionally with trains, so God help Scotland. um, with that being the case, you were talking about Vitality being a Rocket League team at that point.
Yeah, I mean, Vitality in that first regional actually looked very good. I mean, they didn't replicate it in regional two, but they seemed to be. They seemed to. It's like whenever a football team gets a new manager and you get that new manager bounce. It was like that. They just seemed to be playing significantly better than I think anybody really anticipated. So, really, Liquid losing to them, and it was a close. I mean, I know it's at 3-0, but uh, the games were close. And the next series they lose against Carmine Corp, who we've already spoken about at a bit of length, and that they're obviously, they've really are beginning to show their potential. And other than that, the only other team that's beating them in the splits is BDS,
Uh, uh,
which
yeah,
they beat everybody and comfortably at that. So
they did.
this Liquid roster, I think, is definitely the they've already guaranteed that they're making the major now off of the way that other results have gone today.
We'll get on
And
to that point in a moment, Adam.
mhm.
But
Yeah, Adam, stick to the script, Adam. You're ruining this podcast, Adam.
Sorry, so sorry.
It took a while, but the bullying has begun.
That's it. The bullying's finally worked its way to me, and I don't enjoy this.
Danny, I think you were talking about Liquid,
uh,
and I was excited to hear what you were going to say.
I don't think anybody was.
Well, I was.
That's very kind of you, watching my pain and suffering for 2 years. Eventually come to an end, by the way, no longer on the Liquid Team broadcast, if anybody is interested. Hence why this podcast actually came about. Yeah, yeah, for me, I love how Adam is just sitting there laughing in the background.
I guess my one question for you, Danny: are you happy or sad watching them now be successful right after you've left?
I'm happy for the organisation.
That's a politician's answer, and I enjoy it.
What do you say to the people who point out the correlation between you stopping the broadcasts and Liquid suddenly being a top four team?
I will happily.
Is there any causation to this?
I will happily point out that every time I was alone with Liquid, they had always won. It was when Boyo and I was together, it never worked well.
Oh,
Happy
Boyo.
stick with
Boyo's the
blaming
cause.
Boyo,
But is Boyo not still on the broadcast, Danny?
He is.
Oh, interesting. I wonder.
Yeah.
Huh. So he must be some. Huh. I don't see the point you're making. Boyo doesn't seem
Do
to
you
be
feel
the.
like your building blocks have been knocked them down?
No, I don't. My building blocks have been knocked down for the last 3 weeks or however long it was. But Sam
I
has
do
Sam has
God.
generally got the portal master out or some kind of scraper and decide let's make this into a finer powder while we're at it here.
I was actually excited to hear what you were going to say about Liquid before
No,
I
but
rudely cut you
no,
off.
we're just going to ignore the Liquid situation. Just move on because all my blocks have been knocked down.
Okay, well, we'll rebuild them at some point.
No, it's just a simple case of I'm happy Liquid is doing well. The people are in the back of the scenes do a great job. I didn't think they do as well as they did. Yeah, there's not much to add to that. I think these two gentlemen was making more fun of it, but I was expecting more abuse my way, Dixie, to be honest with you.
More abuse than that.
We've got to. We don't want to spoil everybody in chat on the first go.
No,
You know,
no, no.
you've got to work your way up to that pain tolerance.
Feel free to take a swing while I'm down somewhat, Adam.
Now, Danny boy, I wouldn't want to do that. It's a Friday night. I'm in a good mood.
Right.
Do we have a topic? I feel like this has gotten awfully derailed.
No,
Adam hopefully won't be replicating the derailing in his field of work.
feeling.
I would like to avoid that in my job. I don't think I would have a job for very long.
You're
Otherwise.
scarily good at getting trains off the tracks. So derailing things.
All I'll say is everyone needs a hobby.
We were vaguely on top, but fair enough. Yeah. Summary of that: Liquid doing very well. I'm somewhat happy for them. The somewhat, of course, I'm not on the team stream, so I get to be neutral somewhat again. With that being the case, we might as well look at the standings that somebody was talking about earlier in the broadcast and ruined the hype that potentially could have came at them.
I don't know who you're talking about, Danny. I'm having a look about my room.
With that being the case as well, too, BDS was the only team before going into the broadcast, or today, however you want to look at it, was qualified. They have, of course, gained more points. I won't bother reading the total. Moist had secured it as well. Because of Vitality being knocked out as well, actually secured Liquid as well too. So there is only 2 spots left. Of course, that's being held by KC and Soldery as it stands. Only 10 points separating them for Endpoint. And I didn't think this was going to come up as a topic because I didn't think it was happening. But Sam, Endpoint out of nowhere.
Oh yes, Endpoint are out of nowhere indeed. Yes, I agree.
Yes, it's not funny when you're being called on the spot, isn't it?
No, I'm no, it's most definitely not. No, I'm looking forward to watching them play BDS tomorrow. Partially because they've shown such good form that it actually has the potential to be a good series, which generally not the case when BDS is on the field. And I think we have some pretty cool matchups actually tomorrow between Moist and Liquid playing each other, and BDS and Endpoint. I think it'll be a good day of Rocket League.
All right, predictions then. Who have you got?
I have BDS to win against Endpoint.
Oh, no scores. We're just going with wins, are we?
No. We need scores. Scores. You need to nail your flag to the mast.
Should we write this down?
I assume it's best of 7
could
in
write
the upper
this down.
semis.
All right,
Is
yeah,
that-
it's
I
best of
write
7,
that.
yes.
Okay, 4-1 to and 4-2. I don't know.
Oh.
I didn't actually catch many of Endpoint's games, so I don't know how they've been playing, but they seem to have won quite a lot of games.
Right,
So they must be doing well.
So 4-1, and that was to whom?
BDS.
All right, I just want to double check.
Put down 4-2 actually.
All
Will
right,
be nice.
4-2. Would you like to change it to 4-1 again?
No, that's thank
Okay.
you for the offer, but no.
All right,
thank you.
Moist and Liquid then.
I would imagine Moist will win that quite comfortably.
So 4-0.
Well, no.
Not that comfortably. Okay, all right.
Maybe 4-2 or 4-3, but I think they'll be somewhat dominant in the games that they win, if that makes sense.
Right.
I don't know.
Well, just give me a number here, Sam, because you give me...
I think they'll win in game 6 or 7. We'll say it stops at game 6.
Right, 4-2 once more again on that one. Adam, BTS and Endpoint while we're having you as well too.
I'm going to be stupid and bold, Danny.
BDS
I feel
with
it's in my nature.
Okay.
No, I'm gonna go with something which goes against absolutely everything we've spoken about, just because I think it would make for a more interesting bracket.
Right, okay.
Endpoint to win 4-3 and Archie to 1-up Seiko.
Oh.
Right. Are you sure
No.
you want to nail your mast?
I'm going to caveat with this. I know that BDS are
No,
winning this
no,
series
no,
4-0
no,
or
no, no,
4-1,
no,
but I'm
no, no,
going
no,
with
no,
it.
no, Adam. You're not getting away with. I'm just doing this for the content. Are you going with endpoint? Yes or no?
Fine, no.
Right,
BDS to sweep 4-0.
right,
That's a serious one.
right. Liquid versus moist.
Liquid versus Moist. I'm gonna go 4-3 to Moist.
Right.
I think they'll edge it out. They were looking good earlier. I think they're. I mean, I didn't see the Liquid Guild game, but from what you said, it didn't sound like they were particularly impressive. So I don't think that's going to put them in good stead for tomorrow.
Okay. Since you two as well, I'm going to now swiftly move on. No.
Wait, are you not? Whoa,
No,
whoa,
no,
whoa,
no.
whoa, whoa.
Danny,
No, I was going to make my predictions as well. With that being the
get your
case,
prediction.
I agreed with your endpoint statement, and by that I'll go with 4-1 to BDS. Um, and I'm going to go with a 4-3 to Team Liquid for the upper semi-finals. I disagree with you on the moist statement. So,
Interesting.
yes, being still the Liquid man somewhat, I still have a sense of loyalty and stupidity too.
Oh, so you don't actually? You're just.
No, I know.
loyalty.
I genuinely believe Liquid will win that.
Okay,
So
okay.
you're
Well,
you're like me with Dundee United whenever we're playing Celtic or Rangers.
Yes.
I'm like, oh, we can win.
Right. With that being the
5
case,
goals to Rangers later, other story.
lower round 3, while we're doing predictions out of nowhere. Adam, KC, or Evil Genius? Scoreline, please.
Well, this is best of 5, isn't it?
Yes.
So honestly, I think KC will probably sweep this.
Right.
I saw Evil Geniuses against Misfits earlier, and it was. I mean, they were able to get the momentum going. I mean, they did reverse sweep them, but I don't think KC are going to give them the opportunity to start a reverse sweep.
Sam?
are you taking? Okay, I will say, evil geniuses take 1 game, and Carmine Corp will take 3 games, and I will say that. No, actually, I'll go to game 5. I'll beat 3-2. We'll say to Carmine Corp.
That was the most convoluted way of saying 3-1 and changing it to 3-2.
Yeah, well, I've got to keep you on your toes, Danny. I mean, you're sitting back doing the production. I mean, obviously, Kuro's not here, so.
Yeah, it's not like it's been popped on screen here either, but fair enough.
No, I know, but you've got to list them down in your notes so you can bring them up whenever we.
Right, so just to confirm, it's KC you had, or was it Evil Genius before I get lost?
KC in game 5.
Alright, LO 3-1 KC. I thought you were actually going to something there, but you decided not to go with it. Sam, I'll let you go first. Dignitas or LG? Who have you got for that one then?
I would expect Dignitas, although they seem to have an awfully tough time. They've gone to game 5 twice. Oh, that changes things. I will say Dignitas take it in game 5 as well. Oh, 3-1, 3-1, 3-1.
Right,
I won't go to game 5.
Sam?
Danny, I need. Okay.
I love how you're trying to build drama up. Final answer, what is it?
Final answer, 3-1 to Dig.
Okay. Sam, thank you very much. Adam?
3-2 Luminosity.
You
Back
serious?
in talks. I'm back in talks, Eekzone Atomic, to actually.
What are you doing, Adam?
Right. Considering that it sounds like Guild are the biggest bottlers in Rocket League, they've clearly bottled it against Dignitas. And yeah, I think Luminosity have beaten a Solary team who I think got arguably unlucky against having to play Moist in round 2. And I reckon that they seem to be in slightly better form. And Dignitas are. I think Dignitas. Okay, I'll sum it up like this. I think Dignitas are going to reclaim their crown as the biggest bottle merchants in Rocket League.
I see we're going to have an award show by the end of the season.
Oh
Right.
yes,
Right.
It's actually quite a good idea. We will do that.
Right.
Oh,
that's
I'm up
that's
for it.
genius.
I'm going 3-1.
Oh.
to
for
LG.
the oh
Wait,
oh
to
no.
LG?
Yes.
Oh.
I actually
Why?
agreed with Adam on that one.
Ah.
Diggs went on a downward spiral, and I don't trust them making the major.
Yeah. Okay.
Fair.
I don't see it happening, and just for a bit of context as well too, BDS the only one to make to all of the lands so far, because we know they were qualified. Dignitas on 2, potentially could have been 3. I'm going against that. Vitality and Semper was absent from Winter, and Moise and EG came from Winter. Potentially could make it back to back. Moise certainly now has. EG looking a little bit more unlikely in that situation. But with that being the case as well too, I just want a quick summary. Atom, for you, we'll start on this one. Seiko or Archie, which one was the better of the two pickups?
Seiko.
Sam?
Yes. Seiko.
Okay, with that being the case as well too, I think that is mostly the regional wrapped up, unless we have any final points.
Who do you think was better between Seiko and Archie?
I hate you.
That- No, I mean, listen.
Um, uh, this pains me to say it, but I actually like Archie more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any justification or?
Just the way he plays, it's annoyingly good, and to me, I don't see him remaining on that lineup that he gets. I can see him transferring, but again,
No, I think the main thing is that oh my god, I had a slow moment there. Semper kept his contract, haven't he? He's only on loan.
yes.
So I think that roster will likely be completely overhauled and they'll let Archie have his pick, basically.
All right, fair enough. With that being the case, that is our regional review, somewhat loosely summarised with, again, ill-informed opinions. Welcome to Part-Time Pros. This is our podcast. With that being the case as well, gentlemen, I get to hit the button again. Not even a whoop or anything there, but
Well, last time I whooped, I ruined it. So
all right, I'm hitting the button. I'm letting you know we are moving to our second of our 3 mini games.
Oh, yes.
And just like that, it is Who Am I? Just for the record, we have played one round of this game, and we had ended up with 0 points. Thanks.
Yeah,
thanks, Danny.
it wasn't a strong start because I'm still tilted by that.
I know. I wrote that.
On that first clue, I was super close to just going extra final answer, and I didn't. I was like, no, I'm going to wait. And then I let myself get thrown off.
I love the slight change with the rule set of the final answer, Adam, because I knew that was going to trip somebody up.
And it tripped both of us up.
I know.
That's supposedly the easy one. I think you said, Danny.
Oh.
That was. I have 2 envelopes in front of me. Sam had picked his. Well, sorry, he picked the first one. Adam, I'll allow you to pick the remaining second or third envelope.
We'll go for the third.
Okay, and ooh, this one is the more interesting one in mind, but not the hardest one tonight. So good luck to you, gentlemen.
LTXSam, lock it in.
No,
that's
no,
just to be clear. I have not locked it in.
Not
Just
unfortunately.
clarifying that now.
Just not final answer. That is the official term to get it through. So I'm going to read clue number 1, but please do not say final answer unless you are secure and happy with your answer, gentlemen, just to make sure. Won a Rocket Baguette tournament, B tier, just under 5k euros in 2018. This lineup would have provided highlights for the good, bad, and ugly reasons. Right, just as well.
Not a clue.
Just to give you as well too, this is the only round of Who Am I has specific answers to each clue as well. This is a
I
extra just to throw you off potential too.
I think it could be Monkey Moon.
That's okay. Anybody else?
Just trying to think who would have been in Rocket Baguette tournaments from back then.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, Monkey wasn't around in 2018 one.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't think the Coliseum would have been later.
Coliseum was 2017, my first major
earlier.
event, and just for the
Okay.
record, it was sponsored by Psionics, and I think the first European event. Just for a bit of history while we're on this as well, the two gentlemen has agreed not to look up Liquipedia and Octanes and etc. Just in case anybody is interested as well too. I don't care if they do, but it will know if they will. I'm okay to move on to the second clue.
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Okay. Another Rocket Baguette event was sponsored by Psionics. Cemented their right as a serious contender at the time. However, this is the same team members but under a different org/name.
Is this podcast sponsored by the Rocket Baguette? I don't know what's happening. Why all the questions about Rocket Baguette?
Chocolate
I was just
digestives. Any for you, Adam, here while we're at it? Rolex watch or something?
Not a clue. So it's the same.
It
So
is.
they played under a different name at this point.
Yes,
as
the
an
same
org,
members, quite literally, but they play it on a different name or org, just to make it somewhat maybe potentially confusing.
And it's the
Right, okay.
individual on this team
Yes.
who. Have you given? Okay.
So I have no idea.
Okay, I'm moving on to the third clue based on this.
Yes.
Right.
Go for it.
Clue number 3. The first
Oh,
LAN of 2019, according to the org's tweet. This was one of the few, if not first, proper loans.
Oh.
Wait.
Did PSG ever have a loan and then they moved to Barca, or the other way around?
To the viewers at home, or if you are listening live, feel free, of course, to play along as well too. We hope you are enjoying this one as well too. But any final answers?
Wait, what? 1 second.
We are awful at thinking and
Unfortunately,
talking at the same-
I am going to be moving.
Speed. Final answer.
Right, Adam has marked himself in on the third clue. However,
that-
Sam will be moving on to clue number 4, so he can still
That's
play.
interesting. Yeah, I noticed someone actually put speed in the Twitch chat, Adam.
Yes,
I hope that didn't do anything to sway your.
Right. Anyways,
views.
anyways, I'm moving on to clue
I
number 4.
just remembered an event I mentioned earlier, and I was like, wait a minute.
Right. This LAN was a major win and the catalyst for his move to become permanent. Any ideas, Sam?
I always get speed and Yukio mixed up.
Okay.
Yes. I know it's one of Speed or Yukio.
Right. I can give you the 5th clue, but if you say final answer, I will be reading it, but you won't get the points if you are wrong.
Okay, tell me the 5th clue.
Right. So for 2 points, the next season he returned under a team name earlier in his career, but one of the current team members followed, and one from the team that he had been signed to, Team Liquid.
I'm sorry. Can you please repeat the
Right. The season he returned under a different team name, one he used earlier in his career. One from that team followed him, and one that he had signed with, what that being Team Liquid.
Okay, Speed.
Right, that's your final answer.
Yeah.
Right. I'm just going to read back the clues here, gentlemen.
Okay, that
right?
doesn't
And
sound good.
I'm going to give you the answers to each one as well too. This is the only one I've done this for, just for a bit of fun. Won a Rocket Baguette tournament, B tier 5K. That was clue number 1. That was the Triple Trouble lineup. The second clue was a different team name or org. That was Red Reserve. The second clue. The third clue was the LAN. That was WSO4. Mentioned fully enough on this show earlier. Not scheduled or pre that. The LAN and the move, which was the catalyst, and the org that sent out that tweet was, of course, Flipside Tactics at the time. And for the team that he had used prior but reused was the Bricks. That was the likes of Fruity and Coxer moving across over from the Bricks. At the time, it was Mystic and Coxer. Fruity early in a career played with Speed under that team name. So you were correct, gentlemen. Speed was the right answer for 6 and 2 points, respectively. So
What was the event that Yukio came in for?
that was WSO4. He moved to Dignitas for the same event, but it was a permanent move.
I see. Okay.
I
Well,
hope you enjoyed that one. That was fun for me to write.
no, that was quite enjoyable.
that was a good one.
Adam, does Adam get more points than me for that since
Yeah.
he guessed in the third clue?
Yes, he does. He gets 6 points to 2, so we are hotting up on episode 1.
Fantastic. Great. What is it? You said it's 6-2.
6 to 2.
So what? That
2
seems
points per clue
unnecessarily.
then.
Yes, 2 points
Oh.
per clue.
Why is it 2 points per clue?
You get 10 points at clue number 5 if you get, say, final answer and you go for it. It's 2 points at the 5th clue. So there's reward for jumping early.
Awful, awful shame. Okay. What's the follow-up segment? I'm excited.
Oh, thanks for that perfect segue, Sam.
Very
I'm
smooth.
sorry. I'm a little bummed out over losing the game.
You can still make it up, Samuel. Don't get disheartened. Keep on believing. But our third topic is LANDON itself, North America and Europe, and the rest of the field. Oh, finally, a bit of game show action with the ooh noise. Why did I agree to this?
Oh, what, the podcast?
Yes.
Why did we all agree to it?
It seemed fun at the time.
It did. We hope everybody else is
having a
enjoying
great
it.
time.
I am too. With that being the case as well, too, the 27th of May 2022, or 2022, English is difficult sometimes in the RL esports history, may be remembered for the wrong reasons. For a bit of history in itself, down the memory lane, 6th of August 2016, some of the very best attempted a world championship. The likes of Greasy, Maestro, Mark Coxer, Jacob Fireburn, Carnovi, Overseer, and funny enough, Garrett G. But there was a VT at the time. Garrett G had unfinished business as it was built up to be. He was at LANDON before on the 8th of June 2018, battling Dignitas 1 bracket reset, a Game 7 and an OT. Very memorable for some, but it was much later till he got his crown in the December 15th, 2019 on European soil. I feel like Adam might have a point or two on that one there, but to get more to the point, on the 27th, he had failed to qualify for a RLCS LAN. It was 3 SAM players under the North America RLCS. However, it was the complexity banner that knocked him down, and the annoying factor as well, NRG was up 2-0. They were 2-1-2-1, lost the next two 0-1-0-3, and Championship failed, provided the backdrop, and lost 2-1 to the favour that was Complexity Game to move on. And the tweet itself, however, was a little bit shocking, as we saw NRG through the Liquipedia tweet there that they will not be participating. So, Sam, Garrett G not going to LANDON. Are you disappointed not meeting a Legend of the Sea?
Awfully sad, but the one thing I would say about the Legend of the Scene.
Do you want to try that a bit more sincere there?
Well, I'm going somewhere. Well, listen, maybe it's not quite as sad as people think, right? Because he has been to every RLCS LAN event, but is still, I believe he's locked in to be going to the World Championships anyways, or essentially anyways. was certainly in the range where it'd be quite impressive if he managed to not rack up the points for it. So, in terms of every RLCS World Championships, he will likely still be attending. So, as sad as that statistic is, it's only it's not quite as significant of a blow to Garrett's legacy as some might think.
Just to cut in here, I was reading, funny enough, on breaking news here. Finn, who I mentioned earlier, has just tweeted out that this will be the first World Championship with K-Dop not being at Worlds based on the result prior to it. That has actually been confirmed there. However, small asterisk to that, there is the wild card. So just in case he doesn't, that will require a bit of mathematics to work out fully. But Adam, um, it would be strange not seeing Garrett G there. Adam,
I think Adam's gone.
I think Adam's crying.
I'm here.
Oh, hello,
I'm
Adam.
crying in sadness at the thought of Garrett G not being there. So I could see him
You pulled
alongside
that
my
back
favorite.
nicely. Fair
So,
play.
see,
That was brilliant.
I
Had
can't.
your takeaway just arrived at the wrong time there?
No, I muted myself during your monologue, and then I realized just as I started speaking, I was like, "Oh wait, I didn't unmute."
Oh, it's not as worse as somebody forgetting to add the options of sound on their OBS setups.
I can't think of anybody that would do such a
No,
thing.
not,
But
not after 5 years in production.
no, in all seriousness, it's going to be weird that Garrett's not there, but there's been a lot of talk on the run up to this split about, let's be honest, the way that Energy have approached scrims, have approached practices and that, and it seems like they're beginning to try and rectify it, but I don't know. It's like there just seems to be a bit of an odd culture where Energy have been on top for so long, and I think it's quite telling that the one world championship that roster did win was with Turbo Pulsar, who walks in the door from Europe after having had a bad season in EU with Dignitas, and he's like, "No, I am one of the best players in the world, and I'm going to make you guys like into the best team in the world." And as much as Energy were good in RLCS Season X and all that, and Season 9 they were great until Worlds was cancelled, where their motivation clearly tanked because all of their losses came after that announcement. I don't know. I think they seem to be comfortable, and I think people, I think, whenever they didn't show up in Regional One, probably started thinking, right, like a lot of people obviously were like, oh, Energy are dropping off, and a lot of people are like, no, 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 you've got to wait and see. But I think having seen 3 regionals now, it's quite clear that there has been a big drop off, and I think that's just them not taking it seriously enough with the other teams in their region, that's now beginning to catch up on them, because you do have that many teams now in North America that are dangerous.
I was
So,
talking to someone about this, and they made a really good point that all of Energy's downfall, it all started with the Winter Major, where they were outperformed internationally by the likes of OCE, potentially Sam. I'm not too sure if they lost to a Sam team, and they struggled against a lot of the European teams as well, which, oddly enough, for a team where Europe performed so poorly, was pretty strange. But they made the point that Energy's name, especially in North America, always carried a lot of weight, and teams going into matchups with Energy were undoubtedly quite nervous. And then that combined with the fact that Energy are very selective with who they scrim with, and so exclusive to the point where whenever they're playing the teams in the top 16 all the way down to maybe even the top 8 range, Energy are essentially they'd only have experience playing against Energy in a tournament situation, essentially. And now that they have been dismantled internationally by what a lot of people would consider to be minor regions, uh, people are starting to see that in NA, especially in the lower end, that they are not unbeatable and they do have flaws, and that it's actually not that hard to get them to show their flaws, and that's why they've been having so many issues, I guess, against the top 16, top 12, top 8 teams or at the very least, it's something we're considering when we're talking about it.
I think the thing is, whenever you see what came out about the way they approach scrims and all that, they seem to really, I guess, take offense. I guess I know that Justin put out twit longers off the back of it, but I
It's
don't know.
awfully funny,
I
isn't
obviously,
it? The
yeah.
energies they won't scrim people who like bump
To
and
me,
demo and
to me, reading like Justin's twit longer back, I was like, this hasn't told me anything that like the original ones that like Common that put out that they didn't already tell me. I was like, this thought there was no redemption in it. I was like, it's quite clear that it was basically them admitting, yeah, we've not been taking it seriously because the other teams were being stupid. And it's like, well, you can say all you want about other teams being stupid, about being very aggressive on bumps and demos and all that, but V1 went on and had a very good major with that playstyle. Teams are working on these things. And I think it's quite telling that the minor region struggles have come against, like, well, Furia dismantled them. The one game that Furia lost against them was the first game, and it was a 5-4 overtime. It was a very tight game. Then they won game two like 3-2. Then they won 2-0 and then like 4-1. And by the end of it, Furia looked like in that last game, I just remember watching Furia thinking, oh well, you could score 7 or 8 if you really wanted to. But they were just like on wind down mode. They were like, oh well, we've got other games to play here. No point in wasting the energy, really. Which, no pun intended there, by the way. I just caught that. I was like, oh no, I've
uh,
done it now.
well, one thing I've kind of been hoping would happen off the back of this is now that Energy are something of a top 16 team, that the other teams would stop scrimming them under the umbrella of, oh, you're a top 16 team and we don't play top 16 teams, unfortunately. Um, But yeah, that doesn't really seem to be happening. I do
I
think it's
don't.
the end of
Yeah.
energy, though. I mean, going into the off season, I don't think they're going to stick together. There's definitely a roster change in that, and
Oh,
potentially a whole split up.
oh,
Danny, you seem to.
oh, hold on. Is this the first proper width of rumor mill? Sorry, drama coming from this podcast. Are you saying energy splitting change or some kind just to confirm that?
Yes.
Right.
And
Who?
I wholeheartedly
No, 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 no,
agree.
no.
I don't know who.
No, no,
It's
no, no. You made the statement. I want now an opinion. Who should go, or if not, who
who
all?
should go?
Yes.
Oh. Oh. A lot. Everyone's going to say Garrett G. Is what I imagine the public.
The irony to it is that I think Garrett G's the one that really should stay.
That is like I think on the pitch, I think Garrett is probably the weakest. That's the one thing I would say. I think off the pitch, I think Garrett is by far he does so much for energy in the mental department.
I
But
think I think
I'd
the
be
real telling one was the fall major final
yeah
because that, let's be honest, they were they were crushed in the first series, and Garrett and that just started having a laugh, and then the other two caught on to it and really did have a lot of fun with it in the end, and they played a lot better for it. But Squishy and Justin aren't players that I see. I think the thing is now is that Justin and Squishy are at the point in their career where they can't rely on the fact that we were mechanically the best and like the top 5 players in our region, because neither of them are in that argument and are in that conversation in North America. I'd say there's a good amount of players that are mechanically better than them and significantly more capable than them.
yeah
So really, unless they unless as a roster they manage to change that entire culture and attitude, which it's not an easy thing to do. Like even making one change isn't guaranteed to make it. It's like, and as an org, if NRG's going to stick with any of their players, I think odds are it's going to be Garrett. It's going to be the man that they've had there for what 5 or 6 years at least.
Right. But
I I I think it could very well be the end of Squishy and Justin. But the I know Danny's loving this. I think the one
I thought I was going to get it worse with the speed comments, but if any of our North America viewers, you two are getting it with this. Let's kick Squishy and Justin out.
Right.
well
I think the better. Sorry,
Go on.
Sam, I'll let you go first.
I was just gonna say, I think the one thing that's likely to keep them together is I'm under the impression they're under quite a nice contract that includes content creation, quite integrated in with a lot of what they do. So it would be a big shift if they split up. Sorry, Adam, I cut you off.
Just for the record,
Oh.
we don't actually fully know what the contract is. This is speculation. Just to clarify that.
Danny, it's PTP. They know it's speculation. The ill-informed strikes again.
Yes, I'm well aware we are ill-informed, Samuel.
But
Do you know what, Adam? I hear live on this podcast, we are having the ill-informed, I don't know, jingle coming up for any time one of us is off topic and waffling out of our backsides.
well, look, what I was just going to try and quickly say to sort of help back me and Sam up here.
No,
is
don't.
that
Keep on sliding.
No. So, realistically, if you look at the top 8 teams in North America,
Right, can I cut in here at this point?
Yeah.
Because I was going to...
He's 6 words in.
I'm well aware of that. I was going to read out the World Championship scenarios at some point.
Oh, go for it.
To
go for it.
help out this topic for a second.
Yeah. Okay.
Go for it.
Right.
Go for it.
G2 Esports and FaZe has clinched the World Championships main event. NRG, at this moment with its current team, unless Adam or Sam was the manager of it, would have booked their players out of it, have clinched the World Championship spot. What's still to be decided is SSG, V1, Envy, and Complexity, based on what the LANDON situation is, based on how the results are there. Oxygen could, mind you, slip in depending if the other teams do better than expectations, just to put the scenario out there on the top sort of teams as the moment stands, Adam, just to help you out a bit here.
Yeah, so the thing is, Energy did all of their work really to get there in the first split. The fall splits where it really all came together. Winter split, G2 were without a doubt the best team in North America. And I mean, I say that. I know that they obviously lost like Regional 1 to like Energy, finished second in Regional 1, but then they were there and thereabouts in the second split. But in that winter split, you had the emergence of V1, SSG had brought in Daniel, you had the emergence of them, you had there was FaZe were really beginning to become a consistent top 4 team, despite the fact that they don't know how to defend. But that's a debate we'll have on another on another podcast. But I think the thing is, whenever you look at the fact that you had the emergence of all these teams, Energy clearly didn't change anything, and then they've been stung by it. And it's now at a point where if you look at the top 8 teams in North America, what team could Justin or Swishy get on?
All right.
And would they actually improve?
I'll counter that by saying, why not Envy splits up? And then maybe form out 1 or 2 players out with NRG, making a new roster.
I love that this is a European podcast, and this is what we've been.
This is the section Adam wanted in. Let's make fun of our friends across the pond, and by friends is that one guy Adam knows, and let's point at him.
Right. Well, what I'm just going to say on this is that the current Envy roster with Mysteries and Illusion,
yes,
as much as they're a consistent top 8 team. Well, now.
All right. Yes.
Well, they have been this regional. I mean, they've had a couple, like 2 top 4s. Was it? I know regional 2 they were top 4. I think
yes.
I would need to double check in regional, but yeah.
To help out here, just to make life easier for you. Back in fall, they had a bronze and silver medal, effectively nothing in winter. They failed to make the LAN itself here, and the only thing they've got significantly was a bronze position in Regional 2 of spring here. So yes, they have been on an upward trajectory. Winter, however, was signs of a potential change, which ended up Turbo being benched. Let's be fair here.
Which, yeah, there has been the change this split, but realistically, is Justin or Squishy going to improve that roster?
Yes.
I actually think Justin and Squishy would be much more suited. I feel like they're almost the two kids in class who you don't really want sitting together as like a teacher because they cause trouble and all these issues and won't scrim people because they demo and have maybe a bit of a bad attitude. So I think if they did end up splitting up and integrating into another team where they are now outnumbered, I think it could work out quite well for the team.
Right. So what you're suggesting is North America needs a naughty step.
And you can go and sit Justin and Squishy on it in the corner, opposite corner, so they can't talk to each other. And in all seriousness, so that's the thing, is that if energy splits,
Sorry, Adam. Can we just appreciate that moment of brilliance?
It's not bad.
I think it was good.
Can we fly them out to London and just have the naughty step there when we just get to watch them? No, you can't play. We'll watch your other friends how we're on the centre stage.
But yeah,
I want to hear what Adam has to say.
Yes, it's probably much more interesting.
realistically, I think the way that Energy's players all end up in the best possible situation for them is that all three of them split and go their separate ways. Because I don't think it's going to be good for any of them to keep playing with each other. Because I think they all really need a fresh start. And in all honesty, and I hope, all I'll say is, if it does happen, I hope Garrett gets the best deal of the lot of them. Because he's
We
the
like
one guy
Garrett.
from that roster I do really like. Yeah, Garrett's a really good guy.
All right, we'll leave North America there with a potential of Miss Marple Mystery, who has done NRG on the floor. We'll have the potential forensics on that one, but I'll touch on quickly on Europe here before we end up to midnight in Europe here, just on tonight's broadcast of this podcast. BDS and Moise has clinched at least the world wild card for the World Championship. Endpoint, Dig, Semper in that order. Any loss for Dignitas will give Endpoint the guaranteed spot. A clinch, however, for Dig and Endpoint will require Semper not making it. Evil Geniuses KC could still make it, however, with the two weird ones here. Vitality is out, but again, that will depend on LANDON itself. LG, depending if the defeat against Dignitas against them happens here, and Liquid could still make it. However, their odds is extremely unlikely. With that being the case as well too, there has been other teams who have made it through in terms of it. Furious, Team Secret, Verdi, Falcons, the former Sandrock roster, Veloci. We could sit here and name them all here, but before we somewhat head to the end of our podcast here, any final thoughts here before LANDON itself?
My big hope for Landon is that Furia again puts in a top 6 performance at least. Because
Top
they
six?
really kicked it up.
Top 6.
They finished top 6 last time, and
They did.
in all honesty, I think
Top 6 spicy though.
I think they had it in them to even maybe sneak a top 4.
Do we know who they got knocked out by? I can't remember.
They got knocked out by
Some NA team.
Sorry.
so they're not out.
Oh, it's only the one European team that's still in the tournament. That's alright.
Yeah, they lost to G2 earlier in that tournament.
Yeah. G2 knocked them out in the upper semis 4-2, and then they got beat 4-3 by Queso.
That's a really good performance. I didn't realize they did that well.
And
That's insane.
Furia were very impressive last night. The only series that they weren't impressive was whenever they threw against Renegades.
Oh, I do remember that. That was
I
not
remember
nice.
that series. I was in complete disbelief watching it. I was like, this isn't on.
I was in the VC with Adam on that one. I enjoyed every moment of it.
I was ready to lose my mind. I was like, right, you 3-1 NRG. You've went and beat Europe's top seed. Or not top seed, they weren't top seed in that one. But you've went and beat Endpoint, respectable European team. And then you get swept by Renegades.
I didn't know you were such a Furia fan.
I used to fanboy heavily on South America. And then basically what happened was I'd been stung too many times from really just blindly supporting South American teams that the winter major I went, no, I don't think they're going to do very well. And then what do? They do very well.
Well, you'll have to replicate that somehow in the spring.
Yeah, actually, yeah, I take it all back. Fury are going to go home last.
Yeah, very
Right.
good.
Sam, yourself.
Oh, any final talking points on London?
Yeah, well, we're at that, yeah.
Uh, don't think
No.
so, to be honest. I feel like we've covered it quite well.
Oh, all right.
Excited to go, and it should be fun, and hopefully I meet some PTP people, some PTPs,
Well, Sam
part-time
desperately
people.
tries to get some friends here by the sounds of it. So. Uh, sorry, Sam.
No, listen, happens.
Yes, we will hopefully have more in terms of the podcast. We hope you have enjoyed it so far, but it's not over just yet. As gentlemen, we do have one final round of our mini games tonight.
Oh, yes.
Adam's awfully excited because he's 4 points ahead, and that's slightly tilting, to be honest.
So somehow that has got the biggest reaction out of me tonight. We will be
You
heading.
are welcome.
We'll be heading to the very much the jingle that Adam has prepared because
Oh, we do the jingle again. Oh, I love the
we
jingle.
always do the jingle for this.
Okay, brilliant.
I have the jingle.
Don't. Oh.
And just like that, who am I?
Danny.
There we
I love
go.
this
Come on,
podcast, man. This is brilliant. Danny, you've got to find some way to mute us when you're playing that song.
No,
almost interrupted it again.
I enjoy it when the potential mistake can happen on broadcast. Let's have fun with it, as Adam once said to me. With that being the case as well, too, the current standings is 6 points to 2.
Thank you
Yeah.
for reminding everybody of. Okay, brilliant. What's the first clue, Danny?
No, you have to pick an envelope of option number 2 out of 3.
What?
Wait.
There's only one envelope left.
Yes.
2 or 2?
Yes, that's what
Okay.
I'm saying. Do you want envelope number 2 or envelope number 2?
I will take 2, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
This one is arguably the hardest of the set of clues tonight.
Should have picked differently. Oh no.
Oh no, you were given a very little option tonight.
Picked 2, Sam. You should have picked 2.
Ah.
Too many. But with that being the case, clue number 1. Old legend of the esports. His nationality is Dutch and a part of a real old school lineup and has played SARP.
Oh, that's a lot of clues.
Yes, I thought to give you a bit more help with this one. This is a stinker of a Who Am I round.
I appreciate that. Okay.
I've got a name in my head, but I don't. I'm not.
You can't say it. By the way, chat, just to make absolute certainty, do not give any clues to the players because Adam may have got speed earlier today.
No, I remember. I said WSOE earlier.
No,
I was
listen.
thinking about that
They,
to be fair.
they can type away. We'll close the chat.
Yeah,
How
I've got
about
chat
that as a
closed,
nice?
so-
I just want to make sure, just in case there's no assistance, because I'd be surprised if one of them gets it.
I'll say my initial thought. My initial thought was Renko, but I can't remember if he played SARP.
Okay. No takers on final answers.
When you say legend in the scene, I'm going to ask a question. Has this person played in the RLCS?
I can't answer that question.
You can't answer that question.
Yes, I can't.
I would hope
This
it
is
would
just
be
some
the
random-
RLCS then.
No,
We'll
no,
find out
no,
later.
no,
It
no.
so it could just be a random goal too.
No. I will
I'll
guarantee.
just start listing
hold-
Dutch people who play Rocket League.
Trust me, I can't answer the question, but this person has been heard multiple times before.
And he plays Rocket League.
Second clue.
Okay.
Scotland has a connection to this player. The very own Team Sasu has signed this player on August the 16th, 2015.
Team Shazoo. My word, who played on that? I mean, I remember. Oh, what was his name actually? O'Neill, was that?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm speaking about the Scottish boy, obviously, but
Right. No
can't-
takers.
This podcast feels rigged.
Right. Any takers on this one? No.
Yeah, I don't remember anybody that ever played with O'Neill.
Okay.
I just remember him.
Okay. Clue number 3. Season 1, and by that I refer to the RLCS, was too close for this team. 2 league play qualifiers and made it through by only 5 points.
Wait, so
These are not very helpful clues.
I told you, this is a real stinker of the one.
Okay.
made it through. You mean to Worlds?
Yes, this was
Yeah.
season 1. There was 2
Yeah,
league
that
play
was where you had the league
qualifiers.
plays, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, well, I guess it must be somebody from the Flying Dutchman.
Okay. With that being the case, I am moving on to clue number 4. By the sounds of it, very little hope here at the moment. 3 Dutch Legends has attended this LAN Premier tier at the time. Their result or their tournament was ended by a flipside tactic organization.
I'm going to say Jesse, final answer.
Okay, final answer. Right.
I can't.
I'm going to tell you the 5th clue, Sam, because I don't think you have it.
Yeah, well, the best guess I have at the moment is Jesse.
Okay, but that's
Which
not your
is-
final answer.
It's also not based on.
Okay, your 5th and
yeah.
final clue to get 2 points closer to Atom. Left a mark as a player, however, known under a different site, under trivia, one of the first contributors and still active on this wiki.
Danny, I have no idea.
Okay.
I am my final guess, Jesse.
Okay.
This is way too hard.
I know we'll be wrong.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure of that, but
Just to
Every-
clarify even further, since above that there, it was one of the first contributors and still active or actively contributing to this wiki. Chat, congratulations. Some of you can award yourself 10 points and already smarter than our 2 contestants. It was not Jesse, it was Vogan, the main man over at Liquid.
Vogan's still active.
I don't
on
know.
the Wikipedia.
Yes,
I don't
he
know
is.
I don't know who Vogan is.
Well, that's because you have to know your knowledge that dates back to season 1. I told you this was going to be a stinker. But, ladies and gentlemen, that was Who Am I?
When you say a legend in the scene, you mean someone.
How
who
dare you
hasn't
not
done-
suggest that Vogan is not a legend? I could deduct points off you, Samuel.
Yeah, I don't think you can.
Shameful.
I don't have any. Well, I've
You
got
have
two,
2
I think.
points, but I'm not going to do
Yeah.
that.
You know,
Oh, well,
I'll tell a wee story. I'd argue Vogan's a legend purely because was it not RLCS season 2 where they didn't sign up with a sub and then it turned out they couldn't play the qualifier
Oh, I might have heard about that.
because that
didn't-
was pretty legendary to say the
Okay,
least.
maybe I do know Vogan. Okay, my bad, Vogan. He seems like a cool guy. I'd like to meet him one day. He seems like a beast.
Right, with that being the case as well too, that is our podcast wrapped up. We talked about legends maybe finding it difficult. We talked about spring. We even talked about LANDON. Atom, any final thoughts here before we say goodbye to our listeners?
No.
Okay, Sam?
I hope you enjoyed the final PTP podcast more than likely. I mean, knowing us, probably not going to be many more of these, but who knows? That's the part of the excitement, I think.
Well, with that being said, I'd like to deeply thank Sam and Atom for saying yes to the podcast and have stuck listening to me stressing and complaining and has endured this for 2 hours alongside you as the listeners. But hopefully we do this again. But from all of us, it's a good night and stay safe.